Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and a while back I spent a stupid amount of money on the Asus ROG Strix 4090 overclocked white edition, and I justified this to myself because I knew I'd be using it for a lot of video editing, for streaming, recording, and all sorts of other things, but also so I could show off in a number of different cases how you need to consider the fitment of it and managing the stupid cables that come with the adapter that you need to try and get into your case. Just recently I got the opportunity to test out the Acer BiFrost Arc A770 though, so I thought it might be fun to swap out my chunky 4090 for this much smaller and much more affordable GPU. The 4090 set me back a ridiculous £2,000 sterling. It's stupidly expensive, but I do use it with this massive Samsung G9 49-inch ultra-wide monitor, which does 5120 by 1440 resolution. So it's actually sort of justified in a number of ways. Yes, that's not an 8K screen, but it is one that requires a lot of powering. I did a review on it and I've been using it for a while, and the 4090 is actually able to power it. So in this video, I wanted to swap out my GPU with this much smaller, much more affordable one. This Acer BiFrost Intel GPU will set you back around $400. Now, I've actually done a review previously on the standard limited edition A770 from Intel that I'll link to in the description, where I tested out a few different things, including actually playing at 4K. But here I wanted to do some sort of real world testing of my general experience. So I'm not going to do loads of standard benchmarks because Gamers Nexus has done that. Just recently, A770's had a number of updates with better and improved drivers to deliver a better, improved experience overall throughout a number of different games. And I wanted to test it in a number of different ways, see how it got on versus the 4090, and see whether it's a valid comparison. Obviously, it might seem stupid to compare these two cards, but my point is to be able to show how the A770 might be worthwhile, especially when you consider the price, because it's actually very affordable. So for this test, I was trying out a number of different things, basically going through my day-to-day life. So I'm editing videos a lot of the time, and what I've found is actually I've got on really well with the A770 BiFrost. It's just worked really smoothly in DaVinci Resolve, and I've found that the rendering times are only just slightly different. So you can see here a shot of the same video edited and rendered twice. The first time with the 4090, the second with the A770, and there was only about a minute extra wait time for it to go through the full render process. Next thing I've been doing is playing Need for Speed Unbound, which I'm totally obsessed with at the moment. I really love it. It got mixed reviews on Steam, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and it looks absolutely amazing on my ultra-wide monitor. Now, the interesting highlight here is it is actually a pretty intensive game. I think it's not very well optimized, if I'm honest, because it pushes my CPU up to ridiculous temperatures, and the performance is a bit hit and miss. Now, out of the box, with the same settings that I'd usually run on my 4090, is getting like 36 to 40 FPS. Not particularly good FPS. Now, interestingly, if you go into the upscaler options, you can obviously choose from Intel's XeSS, which is their AI-powered upscaling technology, or AMD FSR. Now, I put on Intel's version, and it kept crashing, which is weird. So that was a strange experience. Also, as you'll note, both the CPU and GPU running particularly hot playing this game. This is fairly unusual, but it is one thing I found was the Bifrost did run pretty hot, despite the advanced cooling technology. So one thing to bear in mind. I've mentioned that XeSS made the game crash, which obviously is not ideal, but I did find if I turned on AMD's FSR and set it to balanced mode instead, I was getting around 50 FPS, and I found that smooth enough to play with. Though, as you might expect, the performance was significantly better with the 4090, where with the exact same settings and AMD FSRs turned on, I was getting about 130 to 150 FPS. Now, logically, you'd use DLSS, but I wanted to keep it a fair test, and the experience is obviously a lot better with the 4090. Now, this monitor requires some pretty serious powering. As I said, it's a 1440p monitor, but it's 5120 by 1440. It's super ultra-wide, 32:9 aspect ratio, so it's pretty punishing. Historically, I've tested games like Red Dead Redemption 2 on maximum settings, because that can be pretty taxing as well. And the same sort of thing happened here. I was getting average of 42 FPS with the settings all cranked up. So that's actually not too terrible considering the price of the card. and the experience is pretty smooth. There were some weird quirks with it though. So one of the other things I've been doing is capture a lot of footage from a gameplay channel, playing a variety of different games, playing Fortnite here with my friends. And what I found was, despite playing in picture by picture mode here, so that's only 2560 by 1440p, I was actually getting a low frame rate, or lowish, significantly lower than I would get on a 4090, which is usually in the 200 to 300 FPS range. Now I'm getting 60 FPS. Now it is worth noting that I am recording though, so it is capturing footage with OBS, both in horizontal and vertical positions, while also doing that. So that might have some taxing on the system. So I decided to shut that down and see how it got on and see what change that made to the performance. That bumped it up to about 70 or 80 and a bit higher. Now, obviously, the experience is varying wildly, as you can see here, but for the most part, what I've found is it's been really smooth. I was playing BattleBit here, again, not terribly visually intensive, but really smooth FPS and a smooth gameplay experience, and just generally impressive. I think the Arc graphics card does a good job of handling the majority of things I've thrown at it, and it's been a pretty smooth experience. The biggest things for me were the video editing capabilities of it. So obviously, chopping up 4K footage, I'm going through the timeline here, I'm smashing through the timeline back and forth, scrubbing through it really quickly while editing, and it's not slowed down my process. Rendering times increased just a little bit, not too much, not a terrible shocker, and actually I found that it's done really well in a number of ways. Other things surprised me as well. For example, DaVinci Resolve's just recently been updated, where it allows you now to add captions to your videos. So it will automatically scan a video, listen to the audio, and then use AI to create captions for your videos based on that as well. So you can see an example of that here. And I actually use the Intel GPU for this, so to test out the processing of this and see how well it handled it. As you'd expect, not quite as quickly as the 4090, but it was still able to do it, which is remarkable in my mind. So the short conclusion here is it's actually been a very nice experience. Would I swap my 4090 for the A770 long term? Probably not, but I haven't had as many negative experiences as you might think making such a downgrade, although it's not really a downgrade because it's actually capable of doing a lot of different things. Recording while also playing, getting decent FPS, video editing, and all those things pretty successfully. So for the money, it's a remarkably good GPU that just seems to get better and better with more recent driver updates and changes that they're making to it. And obviously the Acer edition of it has the advantage of that BiFrost technology, the overclocking, and the extra power under the hood. I'll leave links in the description so you can find out more, as well as full specs. And if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, drop me a comment, and subscribe because it really helps with the algorithm. Thanks very much for watching. You've made it right to the end of the video, you brilliant legend you. If you've enjoyed it, click that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and drop me a comment down below if you've got any questions. If you really enjoyed it, consider joining the channel and see the benefits of doing so. Check out these other videos. You might well find them interesting or useful. And most importantly, have a great life.